Imagine this, someone gives you $1 million, but there's one condition. You have exactly 24 hours to spend it. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. Right now. What would you do? You would make decisions. You would stop overthinking. You would stop waiting. Because suddenly, time became real. Now let me ask you something much more uncomfortable. Why do we treat money like it's urgent, but treat our lives like we have unlimited time? Why do we keep saying, I'll start next Monday? I'll do it after Ramadan. I'll start when things calm down. I'll start when I'm more confident. I'll start when the timing feels right. But somehow, that day never comes. Not because we don't want success. Not because we're lazy. But because our brain is playing a psychological game that most people don't even know exists. A game that quietly steals years from our lives, without making a sound. By the end of this video, you'll understand why you've been waiting, why millions of people are trapped in exactly the same cycle, and why the perfect time your brain keeps waiting for doesn't actually exist.
Think about the biggest dream you've ever had. Maybe it was starting a YouTube channel, opening a business, learning a new skill, going to the gym, writing a book, changing your career, or simply becoming the version of yourself you've imagined for years. Now ask yourself one question. When did you first think about doing it? Last month? Last year? 5 years ago? For many people, the dream hasn't disappeared. It's still alive. What's disappeared is the belief that today is the right day. And that's exactly how the waiting game works. It doesn't destroy your dreams overnight, it simply convinces you to delay them. One day at a time. Until one day, you wake up and realize, you've spent years preparing for a life you never actually started living.
Let me tell you a story. Meet Adam. He's not rich. He's not famous. He's not a failure either. He's just normal. Every January, Ali buys a new notebook. He writes goals with beautiful handwriting. Wake up at 6. Exercise every day. Read one book every month. Start my online business. Stop wasting time. Looking at those pages, he feels powerful. For a few minutes, it feels like his life has already changed. But then Monday comes. He's tired. Tuesday, work gets busy. Wednesday, he tells himself he'll restart next week. A month later, the notebook is inside a drawer. Almost untouched.
The strange part is, Adam isn't lying. Every time he says, I'll start next week, he genuinely believes it. He's not making excuses on purpose. His brain truly thinks, the future version of Adam will somehow be more disciplined, more motivated, more confident, more ready. But next week arrives, and that future version feels exactly like the present one. So the date changes again. Next month. After FIFA World Cup. After exams. After my birthday. After I buy a better laptop. After I have more money. After life becomes less stressful. The goal keeps moving. The person stays the same. And without realizing it, Adam isn't waiting for the perfect moment. He's waiting to become a different person.
The scary thing about waiting is that it feels productive. You're not quitting. You're just preparing, researching, watching another productivity video, making another schedule, buying another notebook, downloading another app, planning another routine. Everything feels like progress. But nothing actually moves. Psychologists sometimes call this progress by preparation, a feeling that planning itself means you're getting closer to your goal. Here's something fascinating. Back in ancient Greece, the philosopher Socrates is often associated with the idea that wisdom begins by recognizing what we don't know. Ironically, many of us do the opposite. We tell ourselves, I just need a little more knowledge. One more video. One more course. One more book. As if information alone will magically create courage. But knowledge doesn't automatically produce action. If it did, everyone who watched fitness videos would be healthy. Everyone who read business books would become wealthy. Everyone who knew smoking was dangerous would quit immediately. The problem isn't always a lack of information. Sometimes, it's the fear hiding underneath it. And fear has a very clever disguise. It doesn't usually say, "I'm scared." It says, "I'm just waiting for the right time." That's what makes this psychological trap so dangerous. Because it doesn't sound like fear. It sounds like wisdom. And that's exactly why millions of intelligent people spend years standing still, believing they're simply being patient. When in reality, they're trapped in the waiting game. But here's the question that changes everything. What if your brain isn't actually waiting for the right moment? What if it's secretly trying to protect you from something much deeper? Because the psychology behind this isn't about time at all. It's about fear. And once you understand the hidden mechanism inside your mind, you'll never look at, "I'll start tomorrow," the same way again.
The psychology behind the waiting game. Have you ever noticed something strange? When someone else has a dream, you can see exactly what they should do. Your friend says, "I want to start a business." You immediately think, just start small. Someone says, "I want to lose weight." You think, go for a walk today. Someone wants to learn English, practice for 20 minutes every day. The solution seems obvious. But when it's your dream, everything suddenly becomes complicated. Now you need the perfect plan. The perfect timing. The perfect equipment. The perfect mindset. The perfect version of yourself. Why? Because this isn't a time problem. It's a psychological one. And one of the biggest reasons has a name. The planning fallacy. The planning fallacy. In 1979, psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky described something fascinating. Human beings are surprisingly bad at predicting how long things will take. We consistently believe, this time will be different. I'll finish it quickly. I'll have more free time next month. Future me will be more organized. Our brain imagines an ideal future, not a realistic one. It quietly ignores interruptions, unexpected problems, bad moods, low-energy days, family responsibilities, and real life. That's why every January, people create ambitious schedules they genuinely believe they'll follow. Wake up at 5 a.m. Read for an hour. Exercise. Meditate. Work. Learn a new skill. Sleep early. On paper, it looks beautiful. In reality, life doesn't follow schedules. Life follows uncertainty. The problem isn't planning. The problem is believing that your future self will magically become more disciplined than your present self. And every time reality proves otherwise, you don't question the plan. You question yourself. Let's do something uncomfortable. Forget your goals for a moment. Forget the business. Forget the YouTube channel. Forget the gym. Forget the book you've wanted to write. Instead, ask yourself one simple question. If you started today, what is the worst thing that could happen? Take a second. Really think about it. Most people immediately answer, I might fail. But psychologists have found that the answer usually goes much deeper than failure. Because failure isn't what hurts us most. What failure says about us, does. Imagine two people. The first person tries. Fails. Learns. Tries again. The second person never starts. From the outside, the second person looks safer. They never experienced failure. But inside, something much heavier begins to grow. Regret. Psychology has shown that human beings don't just fear failure. We fear what failure might mean about our identity. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I'm not talented enough. Maybe everyone was right about me. And that's terrifying. Because as long as you never begin, you never have to find out. Waiting becomes a shield that protects your self-image, while quietly destroying your future. Psychologists call this self-handicapping. It's one of the strangest behaviors humans have. Instead of risking failure. Before you leave, I want you to do something unusual. Don't like this video because I asked you to. Like it only if, at some point, it made you stop and honestly look at your own life. Because if one idea can change the way you think, it can eventually change the way you live. And if you're someone who wants to understand the hidden psychology behind everyday human behavior, not through empty motivation, but through real research, powerful stories, and practical insights, then subscribe. Not for me. For the version of yourself that you're finally ready to stop making wait, because the next chapter of your life won't begin on Monday.